Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair DeGette. And Dr. Califf, thank you so much for being here. This is not going to be an easy hearing, and I respect you for showing up to take the tough questions on, and that means a lot to me. That being said, I know it's not what you intended to say, but I think some could take the impression that, in part at least, you were blaming moms and dads who were scared that their children couldn't be fed and that they were overbuying. And the answer is not that moms and dads are responsible for this problem. It's the manufacturers of the infant formula and the FDA. So I think that's important. Let me go to some follow-up questions. And this is this kind of stuff that drives you crazy. So Ms. DeGette went through a timeline, and according to your written testimony, it was December 6th when your team finally got together, and I know you weren't there yet, but the FDA team got together to say, hey, we ought to probably have a plan to go and inspect the Sturgis plant. But the timeline that isn't attached to your testimony, your written testimony, says that the first time they got together to start planning the Sturgis plant inspection was October 21st. Now, you've said it was too slow, and that's where I was going to go with that. And I think it's pretty clear whether it was September that they started meeting or December. When you have a problem that's identified in September, I'm glad that you've already agreed that getting to do an inspection on January 31st is too late, and you stand by that you agree that was too slow. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm curious, too, about the fact that your testimony states the FDA began to first have concerns about infant formula production in March of 2020. The situation was going to get worse with the Abbott Sturgis facility, which my calculations say made about 11 or 12% of the total U.S. production when they shut that facility down. Did the FDA have a detailed action plan to deal with one of the food manufacturers, one of the infant formula manufacturers shutting down, and what we were going to do when the kids didn't have enough formula? Did we have a detailed plan on what action we would take?
We had several committees that were meeting regularly and doing the things that I mentioned, which was contacting all the other producers. As has already been detailed, there are not that many other producers, and they did ramp up right away to the extent that they could. And, I enumerated other actions that.
Well, why did it take, I mean, the question is, when you have particularly your WIC recipients have, one source in most states that they can purchase, and a lot of times that's Abbott. Why did it take nearly 3 months to say, okay, we're going to have a relaxation on some of these regulations related to WIC, we're going to have a relaxation on some of the products coming in from Europe? I mean, where was the request for legislation from us? Where was the action plan by the administration to start flying formula in from overseas? I mean, why wasn't that happening in March instead of mid-May?
Madam and Mr. Chairman, can I refer to my other colleagues here, or would you prefer that I answer the question?
Well, I like you answering it, but if somebody else has got an answer, I'd love to hear it.
They can refer to it if they have the answer.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask Mr. Yanis to comment, but we were monitoring this, and the system seemed to be keeping up with demand until fairly recently, although there were spot shortages that we were responding to one at a time. And at the same time, we were trying to get the Abbott plant up as quickly as we could. But Mr. Yanis, who's an expert in this area, may have a comment.
Because my time is running out, let me move to another question, and that is, I know you say you're trying to get the plan up as quickly as possible, and I believe that you believe that. The problem is when you have an emergency situation like this, and I know you did some special things for the metabolic and the kids that need special formulas, you tried to move on that a little quicker. But when you have 11 to 12% of your total production going down, I'm wondering why it's taken so long just to get where we're at. Why weren't we working at breakneck speed? I mean, I'm reminded of the Battle of Midway when, after being damaged at Coral Sea, Yorktown pulls into Pearl, and Admiral Nimitz says, get it done. We need to get this ship out. and that ship is sailing in 2 days. 48 hours later, that ship is sailing because the American soldier got in there and got it done. I don't expect that you could get Sturgis open in 2 days, but why is it going to take 4 or 5 months to get it open? And why weren't we moving on all of these things in March and moving towards getting this plant reopened then?
I know we're at,
Uh, you can answer briefly if you'd like, if you know.
I would just point out that with regard to the Sturt plant specifically, as I say, we didn't have confidence that they would produce safe formula until we got control of the plant through the consent decree. And a consent decree is a legal agreement involving the Department of Justice and the plant and the manufacturer that has to be negotiated. And the number of, and I'll also add, Abbott actually did start remediating the plant, but it was so bad. We met with them yesterday. There were so many steps in this, even though they've been working at it since day one. They're still not ready to go, but they will be in the next several weeks.
Thank you. Gentlemen's time's expired. Chair now recognizes Chairman Pallone for 5 minutes.